So, before I begin, you may have heard of two main models of ancient Nintendo Entertainment System, as in NES. Spell out the letters, please. Don't say NES. That's Cornball Brother Malarkey. A side loader and a top loader, as far as how inserting the games went. Well, I had a special kind of NES that made me wish I never purchased it. But I was tired and lonely and lacking human companionship, but with 40 bucks to spare. One thing led to another, and it sure beat blowing the funds on blackjack or hookers. Though in a way, I guess it kind of alluded to both, or at least craps and butt buddies. Basically, this was a backloader NES. You put the cart in a slot in the back, slid it in. You had to use some sort of liquid, not entirely unlike the cleaning fluid you'd get back in the day, along with one of those Galuba game genies that apparently were illegal and could get you arrested by the Japanese equivalent of the FBI. But it was kind of like Vaseline, I guess. Anyway, you had to rub the fluid around the outer edge of the port, and then the console made some sort of satisfied sounding running noise if you had it powered on. The all caps power button was replaced with vibrate, also in all caps. And my understanding is if you popped in one of those dog bone controllers, the thing would just straight up growl at you. So the console that I bought at the local punk rock flea market came with something called Custer's Revenge. Apparently, General Custer was a U.S. military officer and cavalry commander, famous for fighting for the Union in the Civil War and getting scalped by Native Americans who didn't want to be forced onto reservations. And who could blame them? I'd have reservations about somebody who did blame them. The game began and General Custer was running around screen with a knife instead of a musket or a muzzle loading rifle. Before long, I realized why this game was so controversial and weird. General Custer was running around stabbing ice cream people in the face. Just like ice cream cones with vanilla ice cream. Lame and unimaginative. Inside of them, and pencil thin arms and legs. Possibly not rendered more impressively due to technological processor based limitations of the console. Anyway, as General Custer stabbed the ice cream man in the face, the absolutely dreadful digital speech synthesis yelled out, Custard! In some ear piercingly loud and distorted robot voice. I guess that was fitting. It was kind of like he was General Custard or something. When he reached the end of the level, I scratched my head in befuddlement, perplexed, as General Custer's skin turned green and Martian antennae protruded out of his scalp, as he threw a pixelated 8-bit ecto cooler high C looking vomit and marched up what looked like kind of like a silvery metallic slide into a UFO. A purple Space Invaders alien gave the middle finger before flying off into outer space. Now, at that point, I felt like I could also throw up because there was an awful rotten egg sulfuric stench in my bedroom. As it turned out, it was the Backloader NES. It was equipped with some sort of smell-o-vision technology and let out a loud, obnoxious fart that made my nostrils feel like they were about to explode. The only time I had a more vicious olfactory experience was that time I went into a slaughterhouse with some friends because we wrote a song about a slaughterhouse, so it was a challenge to actually go inside of one. But was it a challenge for me to tolerate this foul smelling backloader NES? I practically tripped over my untied shoelaces on the way to the restroom to throw up. To my shock and horror, My vomit was green. I had not eaten any green food dye earlier. I didn't know how that happened. Could the game have possibly been cursed? Or was it the system? I picked up the Backloader NES. It screamed and grew googly eyes and angry eyebrows and tried to bite me with sharp sanded down incisors. As it turned out, the Backloader NES was armed with explosives where one of its CPUs should have been, and a small explosion went off in my bedroom that severed my pinky fingers and part of my esophagus. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. The nurses offered me some vanilla ice cream cones, which made me gulp in fear and anxiety, as Dr. Custer administered a rectal cavity prostate exam that I never acknowledged or consented to. As it turned out, he was not actually a doctor, but a police officer. He removed the backloader NES that I had stolen from the flea market and promptly arrested me. As I had never been arrested before, the whole process was rather alien to me. After several hours of interrogation, it was determined that I had been the victim of a local hacker in my area who had reverse engineered an NES in more ways than one. The second way was to place a cartridge slot where the human buttocks should be, if an NES was actually human, which it isn't. The third way was for it to be lodged up my ass. Based on my photographic memory of the flea market and the person who sold me the device, the FBI traced the illegal NES to a half Japanese man who claimed that he invented burger time by stealing burger ingredients from his local workplace and watching his friends trip on them and fall through the ceiling above him to make a hamburger. Personally, I'm not one for tall tales, but I think I'll stick to a top loader NES for now on, if you catch my drift. What I am attempting to orate to you. Hmm?